Hello and welcome to episode number 11 of the Nintendo Jump Podcast. We are a weekly discussion podcast created for Nintendo gamers by Nintendo gamers. It's the week of September 3rd. I'm Daryl, and today I'm once again joined by Sergio.
Hello, everybody.
And Kevin.
What's good, everybody?
How you guys doing?
Pretty good. Double hockey sticks. 1-1. Episode 11. That's all I got. Thank you. Goodbye.
Nice.
I got that from Rocket Power, an old Nickelodeon cartoon. Have you guys watched Rocket Power?
The callbacks.
Yeah, man. Rocket Power. Interesting enough, the setting was in California, I believe. So, boom, double that hometown. Yeah, home state.
Nice.
Yeah. That's it, guys.
That's all I got.
That's all I got. Okay.
All right, so we're gonna jump right in. This week, after the gigantic podcast that was episode 10, we've kind of gone back to just some kind of news updates and a little more laid back discussion. First of all, because we were doing episode 10, we actually missed out on discussing the second Nindies Direct, which was just at the end of August. So this was the one that Nintendo US actually put up. Did you guys have a chance to watch this?
Yes.
I sure did.
So what'd you think? Did anything stand out?
It was just nice to know that it wasn't just a repeat of the European ones. Some people were thinking, it's just going to be the dates for us or more details on those games, but we got a completely new slew of indie games to look forward to.
Yeah, and including one called Into the Breach, which is an awesome hit turn-based strategy game that came out the same day as Nintendo Direct. And this guy, you can't see me right now, but this guy, I have like two thumbs pointing to me right now. This guy got the game with my Switch that's 5 feet away from me. So
nice.
I played a little bit, but I'm really glad that they talked about other games too, including one game that I have played in the PS4, which I'll talk about later, called Transistor.
Oh, nice.
That's all I got for now.
What about you, Sergio? What stood out?
There were a couple of games. I feel like, to me, I was a little more excited for this showcase than the last one. So the first game that stood out to me, it's called Treasure Stack, and it's basically a match 3 puzzle game, but you actually play in the field itself as a character, and you're jumping around the stacks of treasures, and it's kind of like a platformer mixed in with a puzzle game, and you can also hookshot your way around the blocks and to bring them down into the stacks. So it looks like a really interesting mix, and the cool part is that it has crossplay, so definitely gonna be, always somebody to play with.
Yeah, it actually kind of looks like if you guys remember that Super NES game called Wario's Woods, it kind of looks similar to that.
Yes,
but the hookshot is kind of a new thing. I don't know. It looks cool. That's a good pick.
Yeah, and I believe that one is set for sometime this fall. The other one is called Mineko's Night Market, and that one is kind of like an interesting mix, a little bit like Animal Crossing, but it looks like it has its own story, and so it's all set, but you get the ability to run a night market in this sort of Japanese looking town that has a lot of cats around. So if you like cats, this is your game.
That's going to be the biggest appeal too, because, who doesn't like cats? I haven't met anyone who doesn't like cats yet. Knock on wood. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
But definitely the star of the show, as soon as I saw it, was Untitled Goose Game.
Yes.
Oh, man.
What game lets you play as a goose? That alone, that's like, sold. How much?
Yeah, man.
Here it is.
it just markets by itself.
Yes.
I really hope that game has video capture. I really want to post some being a jerk as a goose to Twitter. That just sounds amazing.
Right. Because it's gonna be hilarious. You just know it.
That's awesome. I think for me, one stood out, and actually two stood out, but one in particular, and we knew it was coming. This isn't a new announcement, but just seeing Towerfall again is
that was cool.
very, very high on my list. And honestly, like, if I knew nothing about the game and I honestly didn't care about it, I would still consider getting it just to support the developer of Celeste, because I really, really liked Celeste as a game. But to kind of top that off, Towerfall is this really highly acclaimed local multiplayer kind of 2D battle royale type game, and everything I've ever heard about it is just amazingly fun to play, and everybody likes it. It's easy to pick up and play and such. It was kind of the saving grace of the Ouya. You guys remember that?
Ooh,
yes.
Yeah. Walked in there.
Very nice. Very nice. Then, so definitely have my eyes on Towerfall, which is coming out later this month. So I will be there from day one. The other game this one actually kind of surprised me a little bit was Bastion. So Bastion is kind of this 3D isometric view action combat type game with an active narrator. And I played it for a little bit on PC, and what I remember is, like, if you did things like accidentally fall off the level and such, the narrator would just be like, and then he died. Like, it's active to exactly what you're doing at the time. And I thought that was really cool. The game was very highly acclaimed. It was very well received, and just in my time, it was a very beautiful, fun to play game. So I'm looking forward to that one.
Yeah, and just the way it plays and the artwork, and it's a great transistor to the game Transistor. It's
Really?
that was pretty lame, but yeah. Anyway, so Transistor is also going to be released later this year with Bastion, and it's honestly one of my favorite indies. Just having that first playthrough of being this character. Her name is Red, and she has this sword that talks. And it was very strange at first, because it's like, oh, what's going on? And then you hear about the story where Red lost her voice, and she's trying to get her voice back because someone took it away from her. And then you're pretty much going through this world, and it's very it's like it's isometric. It's very, like, even in battle, like when you're fighting different enemies, you have these certain things, these functions that you can equip, and that can enhance your abilities to fight against these enemies. And then there's this part of so I'm just gonna roll like this. So in battle, before you plan your round, you pretty much plan it where you can plan your move to go to certain places within the map, and then once you say, okay, you're good to go, then you can execute those actions in sequential order, and that's how you calculate your moves. That's how you can defeat your enemies. And there's different abilities too, where there's like an AoE attack. There's things that can help you heal, or like just an attack that can ricochet off walls and stuff like that. It's pretty very interesting. And then there's this, and it's not the easiest game too. And if you want to make it even harder, there's this way where you can limit the ability to add these functions, or just pretty much not use them, and it makes the game harder. But you get more rewards, you get more out of it, and it's pretty rewarding. Pretty challenging game. There is a second playthrough, or pretty much like a new game plus, which I haven't finished yet on the PS4, which I should. But I think that it's definitely worth checking out, especially on the Switch. I mean, these developers, these publishers, or they're pretty much developer / publisher, Supergiant Games. I mean, they do really good stuff, and I gotta say too, the music is really nice. It just has this feel, this ambiance feel of, like, you pretty much feel like it feels like music that you would use in this sci-fi adventure tactical game. So I think it holds up pretty well. Released in 2014, but it's been only 4 years and it's still going. So I'm really glad that it released on this. It will release on the Switch. I'm still waiting for Dillon County. Anyway, so that's Resistor.
Transistor.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's that sounds like yet another game to throw on the never-ending pile of interesting games.
Yeah, man. Nintendo has just been, like I said in the last episode or the one before, like just all these indies is just it's awesome. And then you don't just have these sort of games, but you also have like party games like the Jackbox Party Pack 5, which is coming in October of this year.
Mm.
And have you guys played Jackbox Party Pack?
I haven't.
No, same here. Haven't.
It's actually one I've always been kind of interested in, but I've never gotten it or played with anyone.
I'm just gonna tell you right now, it's pretty much like trivia on another level, and there's just different ways they use trivia and like different ways to interact with, the players or pretty much your friends, or family you play with, and being able to, bring everyone together and have like a healthy competition in trivia and like, different ways to lie, which can be pretty fun, and there's like word association games and just. There's a drawing game called Drawful from Jackbox Party Pack 1, and there's just all these like pretty awesome, fun party games that you can always play like all the time. I used to play it there were the times where I would bring my PC over and we'll just load up Steam and play Jackbox Party Pack. I had one to four. Actually, I still have it, and it's always a blast. And one of the things that I really like about it too is that they have the ability to interact with your mobile phones. So like if you're playing a game that has like more than like 8 players or maybe 16, 16. I hope it's 16. I forgot, but definitely 8. So if you have like at least 8 players, then there's this ability where you can interact. You can use your phones to pretty much play as a controller to the game, so you can answer questions with your mobile phone. There's a way where it connects, from the back end and be able to sync up with your phone or your tablet, what have you, and be able to participate in the game just as another player. So, I mean, I say 8 because I think that's the ideal number for a lot of the games. You can have 5 or 4. I mean, in my experiences, a lot of times we play with a good number of players, so 8 was our ideal number. So
yeah, that's cool though. It's really accessible.
It is, yeah, and especially for people who don't really usually play games, I think it's one of those gateway games that you're able to just like Mario Kart. Mario Kart is, I think, a pretty awesome
absolutely
racing game, and yeah, I just think that if you have a scenario where you have a bunch of friends that you hang out with, or maybe even like 4 or 3, I mean, you can still have a lot of fun with Jackbox Party Pack. So. Even 2. So I mean, I think it's highly recommended. I'm definitely gonna get it. So yeah, or the Party Pack 5. So yeah.
No, that's cool. What did you guys think about the Direct as a whole compared to the UK one? I saw a lot of comments about this one seemed to be a lot of the same style of games. Did that bother you at all?
Honestly, no. It didn't really bother me too much, just because I think because my expectations weren't that high in terms of just, I mean, and that's just like my way of like looking at it. I think that there were definitely some games that are a bit similar, but I think that for having these really high quality games, like and even Into the Breach, the turn-based strategy style, like that's a pretty good quality game from a small studio. So I think that it's I don't think it's a bad thing. And I mean, if people are complaining, it's they're reaching. Honestly, I don't. So that's my opinion.
No, right. I mean, to me, it kind of felt like they both had a good, the same amount of variety. I just personally liked the second showcase games a little bit better, but I think they were both really good. And if we take it like we should, which is just more Nindies, then yeah, we have even more to look forward to.
Right.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. Like the games that were shown off in the second one to me are just more appealing. So I came out of the second one going, man, that was a better showcase, and I kind of saw this dissenting opinion, which I found was interesting, and I kind of get it. The UK one had a little bit more variety, I'll say, but the second one, the US one, just kind of had more games that I'm interested in. Like we didn't even talk about Dragon Marked for Death, which looks amazing. Towerfall is exciting for me. I'll never not be excited for the available now game.
Right.
that gets me every time. But I thought it was a good show overall, and I think the quality of both of the shows, which were both really good actually, I think is really showing how effective the indie push has been for Nintendo. And actually, there was an article that came out, I think it was just earlier today, some talk from PAX West. The developer, the developer of Dead Cells, actually commented that the Switch version is outselling the PS4 version about 4-1.
Right. I mean, that's. Man.
I mean, that's huge, and this is not the only time that we've seen this. Especially when you compare to Steam. Developers are chiming in, man, we've sold 20 times, what Steam has, or this game has lived up to the Steam sales within 1 week of release. There, time and time again, so many games have that narrative that you got to think, man, every indie wants to be on Switch at this point. And you see it with games like Bastion coming out. That's an old game.
Yeah.
It's a very good game, but it's not new. So you're definitely feeling this surge of, oh man, there's a market here.
Right.
Two things. This is not a fluke, and numbers don't lie. That's all I gotta say about that.
No, absolutely. I mean,
yeah.
At this point, it just is. It is what the narrative is saying. The Switch is probably the most indie friendly console at this point, and that is very surprising to me. I wouldn't have guessed that early on. But it's whatever they're doing it right, and the Nintendo players are eating it up. I mean, you could go the pessimistic route and say that the Nintendo release schedule has been a little lighter this year, so maybe the indies are benefiting from that, but I don't even think it's that. I think they're just doing an excellent job bringing these very high-profile games over that are fun to play. They're connecting well with the audience because a lot of these games are based on old Nintendo games.
Yeah, and just to your point, I mean, when it comes down to it, Nintendo is giving the platform for all these games to be enjoyed by so many people, and we live in a really good time where indies are shining a lot brighter than ever. Like with the numbers of how like as you mentioned, how certain games outsold their other platform counterparts by a wide margin. It's really telling, and I think it's really encouraging for Nintendo to be able to support these indies, and I look forward to even many more indies. Like it's a good problem to have, and yes. I know that some people might say, well Kevin, there's too many choices, what do I choose? Well, just figure that out.
Pick one and go with it at this point.
Yeah, it's like if that's a problem, man, I can't imagine you having a bad problem. I don't know. No, I'm just saying that it's. Well, I didn't mean the negative way, but I'm just saying that it's a good problem to have. Like,
no, yeah. Look at everything that's out there now. You've got Celeste and Dead Cells and The Messenger, and I mean, if you even want to go like Overcooked and Hollow Knight and 20XX, and just like any style of game, anything you want to play, there's something out there, and there's a good version of it. So it's just it's crazy. Except hockey games. We need more hockey games.
Oh, I do understand that you're a big hockey fan, so I can see where you're coming from.
So I guess transitioning a little bit to yet another indie game. So we recently received our first ever review codes for a game. Actually, the folks over at the publisher Double 11 sent us a couple codes for a game called Songbringer, which honestly before that I had not heard of. So my bad on that. The game actually came out in May on the Switch. It's developed by Wizard Foo Studios, which is our favorite type of studio of pretty much one guy doing everything on the game, right?
Yeah.
That's so right. When I was looking into it, I was very intrigued to know that it's actually a kind of a Zelda-like game, and I mean like original Zelda, Legend of Zelda NES style game. Definitely does not feel derivative though. They've done a lot of updates. I know. So Sergio's been playing it a little bit too.
Yes.
What are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's you can tell it's inspired by Zelda, but they just took it initially, but then they try to stray away, just playing like homage in a way. Um, it has a story and it has cutscenes in a way, so it's definitely different, but it takes the best parts of Zelda, I think.
I mean, they even went as far as the very first screen that you end up on is literally the first screen from The Legend of Zelda with
Right.
the cave that you walk in, and it's dangerous to go alone. Take this. So yeah, there is a sword in the cave, and I mean the only real significant difference is when you pick up the sword, you unleash a horde of demon goat things. But that's
Yes.
that's not really relevant.
I got a question though. So it's called Songbringer, right? So what kind of songs does this person bring, like in terms of his attacks? Like I gotta ask, because then I mean, there's gotta be a good reason why it's called Songbringer.
So full disclosure here, I haven't beaten the game yet, but Songbringer is actually the name. This all takes place on a alien planet, and the ship that he is on, your main character, who's named Rock, the ship that he's on at the start of the game is called the Songbringer. So that's kind of the name. I'm not exactly sure how that ties in, if it even does, but that is the name.
Got it. Now we know.
The one thing I want to say about the game is, I don't know, hopefully this reference doesn't fall flat, but if you've ever looked at like the backs of books from the fantasy section of a bookstore, if you're looking at, some of them will be kind of mild, it'll be, Erwin is struggling to convince her kin to flee the mountains or something, and it's elves, but it's a pretty generic story. And every once in a while you pick up one, it's like on the planet thing I can't pronounce. The race of people are facing extinction and under the
Whoa,
guys, and it goes like full fantasy, right? It goes like, oh, this is too deep for me. This game really, really toes that line. It goes really deep in its own lore, which is not really a bad thing. It's actually made it really interesting to play, but it definitely gets a little bit out there.
Right. No, but I kind of appreciate that instead of just your typical Zelda game that is more focused on gameplay and using the right items on the right location, this one kind of takes a departure, and like you said, it goes with the lore, and it has a story, different characters. Like you said, the main character is Rock, and he has a little robot like a sidekick, and actually somebody else can join in on the fun because the second player can control the robot, which I think it helps you scan around for items whenever you defeat enemies.
Yeah, that's great. And another way it kind of differs is that the whole world, all the dungeons and everything are actually procedurally generated, which at one point kind of sounded like a bad word. I'm not exactly sure where the industry is on it now, but I'll say, having not really... the way it works, you actually put in your name or a 6-letter word of some sort at the start of the game, and based on that, it uses that as the seed to generate the world. So if you put in different words, the whole world changes. And there's
wow,
yeah,
no
it's interesting, and there's rules about what it can actually do, as far as like, okay, so it is kind of like The Legend of Zelda. So there are dungeons. The first dungeon is always a set distance away from the starting point, but you don't know which direction. Right, and all the level layouts are different. The dungeon layouts are different every time you play. I'll say I haven't played around too much with that. I've only really done my initial seed, but it doesn't. So a lot of times with procedurally generated games, it can kind of feel janky, like things are kind of going together, but they're not supposed to. Right, this doesn't feel like that. They've actually done a really good job of the world.
Right. From just like you said, from my initial impressions, yeah, the world feels like it was made the way I'm playing it. So the fact that it was procedurally generated, I mean, that speaks a lot to it, I think.
Yeah. So, I overall initially I like it. I think it's a cool game. It's I like the aesthetic, which is it takes some getting used to. It's definitely this really rough pixel art, kind of intentionally, it feels. The music is hitting me in kind of a wrong note. Like it's a lot of dissonance and kind of electronic. I don't know. It almost feels like it's going for like a Blade Runner type music vibe, like weird interconnecting things that don't make much sense.
Right.
I'll say it that is not hitting me in a really good way, and that's a little unfortunate. But the rest of the game, I've actually, I've had a pretty good time so far. So I'll keep playing it for sure.
Maybe there's a intention why it's like that, because there is certain dissonances that can sound.
It's 100% made to make the planet feel alien, and it does a really good job at doing that.
Yes.
In that case, then I could see why creator did it that way, but.
It makes sense. It's just it's one of those things that I just don't like that much.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Maybe acquired taste, probably. Maybe it's acquired taste. Yeah.
And I'll say, the world is kind of confusing, and you're not always really sure what you're supposed to be doing. And I've seen that brought up as a negative at times, and that's a valid point. But again, this game is borrowing from The Legend of Zelda, which had a dungeon hidden in a bush. So I mean, it's not off the source material, right? So, yeah, that's pretty much it for me. I think, like I said, I've enjoyed it. I think it's a good game. So definitely something I had not heard of. I'm sure that a lot of people haven't heard of. I think it's priced at $20, which feels slightly high to me, but there's a lot of game here, and especially if you consider multiple playthroughs and such with the different worlds.
Right.
I don't think it's a bad deal. Just, I think it's a good game. So that's it. And to clarify something I said, yeah, believe it or not, we are not on the take for Donut County. He just keeps bringing it up, guys. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
just making it clear.
All right. The game is pretty fun. So I'm not done with it yet, but it's exactly what I expected. And
all right.
Okay,
So,
I'm done. I know. We'll put it aside for now.
So we initially scheduled this podcast to be right after the Nintendo Direct that was supposed to happen today. Unfortunately, that did not happen today. Kind of out of respect for Japan, which is getting just hammered by natural events. They got hit by a typhoon and then an earthquake earlier today, and it's definitely not a great situation. So our hearts go out to all of them, and definitely understand moving the Direct.
It's definitely unfortunate, and as you mentioned, our hearts go out to the victims' families and all that at this very unfortunate time. So I appreciate what Nintendo did in terms of delaying the Direct, because there are some things that are more important than new video games. So anyway. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. And honestly, I can understand being disappointed by this. I'm disappointed by this, but if you don't understand what they're doing, no offense, but check yourself a little bit. Like, it's not that important. It's really not.
I think for people who are really young, maybe they're like 10 or 12 years old, and maybe if they heard it and they say some things that they don't really mean about, like, oh, why did Nintendo do this, and they don't understand the magnitude of the situation, then I'll consider them to I'll give them a pass. But if you're over 18 years old and because when you're over 18 years old, most of the time you know what's right and wrong, and you have a sense of conscience. I think if you don't understand at that point, then as what Daryl said, you need to look yourself in the mirror and really, reconsider, your actions and your feelings about it, because, and that's just as a criticism, a constructive criticism, because, and I mean, boy, if I did that when I'm 18, holy shoot, criticize me, make me understand, you know what I'm saying? Like, I tell you that right now, because, like, as a person with that sort of that conscience, it's, you have to recognize the situation and be able to understand and empathize, because when you're 18 years old, I know that sounds like I'm emphasizing the number, but I'm saying that because you're an adult, you're at that point, you've matured to a point where you can understand a good number of things in the world, but not everything. You still don't know everything in life, but like, as a lot of people would say, but I think it's a good time to just really, just be more aware, be more cognizant. That's all I have to say.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, definitely.
So like I said, we're a little disappointed, but definitely understand where Nintendo's coming in on this one. But what this has done is, instead of talking about what just happened in the Direct, we're going to talk about some predictions for what we think might happen in the Direct. So
Ooh.
just in the past, these September Directs have had some pretty good reveals and news and such, and we're on the cusp of the online service and such. So there's a lot going on right now. So
Yes.
I think I'm going to start with Sergio. What do you think?
Ooh.
What would make you happy with the Direct?
So you know what's happened? I kind of developed this awesome, like, I don't know if it's like a superpower or ability to keep my expectations in check, except one.
F-Zero. I'm just kidding.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
I can I guess which game it is? Can I guess which game?
Yes, go ahead.
Animal Crossing.
That's right.
Donut County.
yo, man! If Ben Esposito said right now they're gonna release on Switch, I will flip my shoe right now, man. Oh my gosh. Anyway,
The shoot will hit the fan.
shoot.
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, ooh, fork. Yeah.
Go ahead, Sergio. I'm sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
No, it's fine. So yeah, for sure. I mean, every time there's a possibility, I'm always thinking this is the time. We've been waiting 5 years for a new game. We have the mobile game. It's already getting old. I haven't played it in months, so we need news. We've been waiting. E3 was the time, and it wasn't. So this has to be the time. That's the only thing I can say on that one. For the rest, yeah, like I said, I'm excited all the time, but I understand. I don't know. I don't expect much. Eventually I get surprised, and I like what they announced. I think that's a great way to go into it. But I do have a couple of predictions that I think are on the safe side.
Okay.
The fact that they mentioned that this is for the Switch and the 3DS, it leads me to believe that we're gonna get a date for the Mario and Luigi 3 sort of port / enhancement version of the DS game.
Ooh, there you go.
I'm just guessing we're gonna get it announced for early 2019 because that makes sense,
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Yeah, that's fair.
And the other one, it kind of goes with some rumors / potential leak that we saw. It looks like we have a name now for the Yoshi game for the Switch, and it's going to be called Yoshi's Crafted World.
Ooh.
And the fact that we saw this when, the day that we were supposed to get a direct, I think somebody just messed up and let the name out early. So,
I mean, it was leaked on Nintendo's website, so that's pretty safe.
yeah, definitely. So I think we're going to see some of it, especially because it is announced as a 2019 game, and it was supposed to be this year initially. So we should see some cool progress on it and maybe some Labo integration.
Well, that's interesting. I don't know why. I hadn't really thought about that.
Yeah, I mean, that would definitely explain the delay.
Yeah, that'd be like in the first Labo kit, you make a house. That interesting. That's a cool idea.
So yeah, that's about it. Just hoping for Animal Crossing, but I don't know. it could go either way. I'm feeling it, but I can wait.
I think, like I said it before, Animal Crossing is very nearly a certainty on Switch. It's almost assured that it's gonna happen. It's just a matter of when.
Right.
Like, to me, this year we're getting Smash Brothers out of the way. I don't want to say it like that because I'm really looking forward to that game. But
it's like, oh no, too much.
they've already checked the boxes of the big Zelda, Mario Kart, Splatoon, Smash Brothers. I mean, they're
ARMS.
That wasn't really a box before, but yeah, sure. So I mean, it just kind of feels like next year kind of feels like the right time for the Pikmins and Animal Crossings and games kind of in that area. And right. I mean, sign me up, especially for Pikmin. I would love to see that game come out. Pikmin 4, which has been done for a year and a half or so.
Right.
Speaking of 4, I would love to see maybe a teaser or so of Metroid Prime 4, because we did see one image of like, oh, it's in development a while back, but it'd be nice to see like maybe a little bit of gameplay, or even like a movie, or like a really short movie, maybe, like even for 2 minutes. I mean, that'd be good.
Yeah.
I would be completely fine with an animated trailer.
Right.
Yeah, or something that gives us a hint of what the genre is gonna be, or the style they're going for. I mean, other than Animal Crossing, this is the game that I'm excited for the most. I definitely want to see it. Oh man, if we see it next week, it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah.
That's actually another one that kind of slipped my mind. To be honest, for this direct, I just hadn't really been considering it. So you guys are bringing up excellent points.
And there is one more. It's gonna be a stretch, but the 8th generation Pokemon game that I heard that's gonna come out next year. I mean,
yes,
So I know they're focused on Let's Go Eevee, Let's Go Pikachu. Yeah, that's cool. And God, that sounds bad. I mean, no, it's cool. It's really nice that they're incorporating Pokemon Go and just the whole, just having that with the Switch. I mean, it's great, but just that same formula with some new Pokemon. I mean, how can you beat that? And I want to get back to the series again. I didn't really play as much on the 7th generation, unfortunately, with Alola. Yeah.
Yes.
But I just think this would be a great time for them to talk more about it. So, and also there is, the new Fire Emblem game that's coming out next year, Fire Emblem 3 Houses.
Yes.
So I think that'll be great to see some more gameplay for this Nintendo Direct. And no, I'm not going to talk about the 2 games that I always talk about. You guys know what those 2 games are. I'm not going to say it. It's already been mentioned in this podcast, but yeah, I just think that Fire Emblem 3 Houses would be great. So that is. Oh, but I think Animal Crossing. I agree. Animal Crossing, man, it's got to. Come on, Nintendo, just let us know. Oh man.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see, and this, if like I said, it just kind of feels like the right time.
Yeah.
I was a little surprised we didn't see it at E3, although they said they were focusing on 2018 games. So even though they kicked it off with a 2019 game, whatever.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
I could, it feels like the right time to me. Also, this is kind of weird, but we just had a Smash Direct. I think they're gonna have another segment on Smash. I really do. And
oh man,
I've got the stupidest piece of evidence on this, and that is that they released this special edition Pro controller for Super Smash Brothers. It looks pretty cool. I actually pre-ordered one, and earlier this week, just after the Direct was announced, Best Buy and Amazon moved up a lot of release dates for that controller, which is kind of weird. It went from releasing with the game in December to releasing September 28th, which is very interesting to have like a themed Pro controller not come out with the game, if that actually is true.
Right.
The fact that it happened right around a Direct and it happened with 2 major retailers kind of leads me to believe that that's a true thing. So obviously that kind of goes into why would they want to do this, and there's the side that's like, oh my god, they're gonna bring out Smash early, which
jokes.
I mean, I would love it. I've been playing that What If game too. That would be amazing, but I don't expect that. What I do expect is that they come out and say, hey, there's gonna be a demo. And there's going to be a demo, and obviously you need your controller for this demo, so we're going to give you your controller early. And that's nice. Kind of, to me, the logical course of how that's going to play out. Which, I mean, color me excited. I'm there 100% for anything, like a test Smash with the online service. That almost feels a little perfect to me. So sign me up. I'm good.
You know what? I actually don't want them to release it early. I don't think it's a good idea, and I'll tell you why. Is because there are other games that are coming out too. Super Mario Party is coming out in early October, so
they would kill the rest of their year pretty much with that.
Yeah, I mean, so I know some people might be like, "Oh well, Kevin, why can't we just have Smash now? Because it would be great." But I mean, you gotta look at the business side. You gotta really see that there's a strategy behind this, and also good things come to those who wait, and I think it'll be worth waiting until December for a Smash. I mean, I think just in time for the holidays. I mean, and we got a lot of games to play right now anyway, so I don't
Yeah.
I don't think it's a big deal. Now, if we didn't have a lot of games to play, okay, fine, bring out the big guns right now. But I don't know why I did that. But I think this is the right move, and for them to release it in this fashion.
They're just doing a lot of things with building up this game. Like, I feel like their pacing on this has been really good so far. From the first reveal to the E3 blowout, which, you can argue was a little bit long, and I get it. But from that to the Smash Direct, and they've got this kind of constant stream of updates and characters and such. I feel like they're doing a pretty good job. So to cut that short might actually be a disservice. Like, not to the players, to the game itself.
Right? Yeah, for sure.
But I can't wait for that game. So whenever it comes out, that's great. But if you give me a demo at the end of the month, man, I'll be happy about that.
Yeah, I mean, it could always be one of those demos like the test fire or the test punch that they've done that only works a certain weekend. So even if it's a little early, definitely earlier, more than 2 months before the game comes out. But if we could only play it that weekend and maybe another one like in November, that might be good enough. And they could add a couple of things to the demo as time goes on.
Yeah, I would like a demo. Yeah, I did you guys hear where they're gonna have demo sub at Best Buy though? I mean, that's cool and all, but those lines are gonna be really long. Because I remember when they announced like the same sort of thing for the Super Smash Wii U, and man, there was that local Best Buy that I went to right after work, and the line was like at least 2 hours long. I'm like, fork that. I mean, as much as I love Smash, man, oh gosh, I mean, I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. Oh man.
They're also doing that thing where they've announced 10 Best Buys, all of which are like 6 hours away from everyone. So
right, it's like
just okay. That's great.
Great.
I'm not gonna go to them.
We'll just wait for the demo.
Yeah, we'll wait for the demo. Yeah. Save that 6 hours.
Yeah.
Play some Donut County. Sorry.
Moving on. My other kind of sleeper prediction, and I touched on this before, but I kind of expect Mario Kart to jump up. Like, I just kind of expect Mario Kart brand new DLC, something there, coming with the online service, and I feel like that would maybe surprise a bunch of people. I would love to see it. I think that'd be awesome because that game is sold like hotcakes. Everybody has it. It's a great game that everyone that I know is still playing. So I mean, it's definitely relevant still. So I think they can do that.
Yes.
That's kind of my sleeper prediction.
That's a great one because then personally for me, I think the game that I played most of with all my friends with the Switch is Mario Kart, and it's always just really fun, and there's always a bit of luck obviously, but I think that it's just fun to be able to have that healthy competition with your friends, and with more DLC it's gonna give a new life for sure.
So I have one more question that, assuming we're right about the Smash Brothers thing popping back up, and assuming we get another trailer or something. So, which character is gonna die this time? Because you've had one die in like each of the previous trailers. So, I think Star Fox personally.
No, well, Star Fox. Yeah, that's a big move. That is a big move. I was thinking more of like a Toad. I'm sorry, like a Toad.
I mean, last one they killed Luigi, man.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, all right. I guess Star Fox might make more sense, but oh man, but
kill Link and announce Skull Kid.
Oh, that's not bad.
I mean, I don't want to, but
well, that's not bad. Yeah. Anything else for Nintendo Direct other than we're excited for whenever it actually does show up, which should be. The rumors are next week, probably around Thursday. So assuming that does happen, next week will be the episode that we actually talk about it. So definitely looking forward to that one.
Yes.
Yep. No, I think that's good. I don't really have much.
Yeah. Same.
Right now, so.
All right. So with that, I'm actually going to jump into listener mail. So this week we actually have 3 questions that I'm just going to fire at you guys and see what you think. So
here we go.
From Monty, quote, if you had to choose one game that you would love for people to play and finish to completion, what would it be?
Ooh, man. You go first, Daryl. You go first.
Oh, man. I wasn't prepared to go first. Hey, Sergio, go first.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with a game that I recently picked back up because I love the series, and the first game is arguably the best, and it's definitely the most impactful. It is the series called Danganronpa.
Oh, okay.
It's like a point and click adventure type of game. It started out on the beta, but there's also a PS4 version now, and it's only on those systems, and it hasn't jumped to anything else, at least not yet. Without getting too much into details and without spoiling anything, I just want to say if you haven't played this game, and if you're interested in a game that is gonna make you feel bad, and many times it's gonna make you question why am I playing this?
Sign me
I'm
up.
a horrible person for playing this. It's this one. Like, if any game can do that, it's definitely this one. And I don't want to make it sound bad because it makes you feel so many things. And at the end of the game, nothing is explained. So, it's an experience. Yeah, I would love for people to play this, and then they might like it. They might really, really dislike it, but it was. I'm sure they're gonna agree that it was a very unique experience to go through.
Fair enough.
There we go.
That's a sales job if I've ever heard it.
Yeah. Salesman Surge.
All right, Kevin, you got something?
I do actually. And one game that I would choose for people that should play is Grim Fandango. It is a point and click adventure game by one of my favorite game devs, Tim Schafer. It is a game based on Day of the Dead theme. It's a theme that is a Mexican theme, and I believe and correct me if I'm wrong, it's a sort of like a celebration or some sort of thing, like a festival sort of thing that happens in Mexico, and it's and the art style is, there's a lot of skulls, but it's like a really not really sad looking skull, but like it just makes you feel like you're cool. Makes you feel like it's just really hard to explain because the game is about this guy named Manny Cavalera, and he's just pretty much going through his adventure, trying to get into the land of the dead. That's his final destination, and in order to do that, he needs to go through his journey, and like just all the puzzle solving, and the voice acting is really nice. It was made in 1998, but I'd say it's aged pretty well in terms of like the voice acting and the flow of the game. The camera angles didn't age as well, but I don't think it's not a big hindrance to the experience. And even if you don't really like puzzle games as much, I think it's still worth playing. It's one of those games that you must play, and I love it to death. As someone who likes these sort of point-and-click puzzle adventure games, I think it's one game that people should play from start to finish. And you don't have to grind. You don't have to, spend like 100 hours on it. I mean, probably maybe 15, 20 hours, which is, I think, a good standard length. And I think it's just one of those games, Grim Fandango, really, really memorable characters, and I'm sure not a lot of people will think like, ooh, what, Grim Fandango? But yeah, Grim Fandango, man, that's the game that I want people to play.
No, actually, whenever I haven't heard a lot of people talk about it, but when they do, they praise it. It's like they love it. So I'm wondering, do you know if it's out on any of the current generation systems?
Yes, so I believe that it is on PS4, which I played the remastered version of. Unfortunately, I did not play the original from PC in 1998 because the content sort of scared my parents, so they didn't want to buy it. But I mean, I can see why I scared him because it has skulls and stuff. But I mean, but that's nothing to do with violence. You know what I mean? Like, it's not one of those games where.
I love that aesthetic though. Like, I really liked it in Guacamelee. I really liked it even in Mario Odyssey. I like the movie The Book of Life. Like, I love that aesthetic. It's fun. Coco, man, it's a fun world, and
right.
I always find it entertaining.
And and just that thing with the skulls. Like, I was trying to find the best way to describe it. I just think it's cool. Like it, because when you think of skulls, you think, oh gosh, death. But I mean, really, it's like a cool. It's like a really good looking cool, and all these like different designs and art on these skulls, and the way they celebrate, and shout out to Mexico for having this holiday. You know what I mean? Because honestly, it's one of the biggest themes for this game, if not the biggest theme. I mean and also shout out to Tim Schafer, who I met twice. Booyah! He's a cool guy. Anyway. Yeah, that's my choice.
Okay, so this is a very hard question for me because there's a lot, and as you've kind of heard me talk in the podcast, I've mentioned a ton, like Celeste, for example,
right,
that I think are must-play games. But I'm gonna go with something I haven't talked about on the podcast, but is one of my dearest games, and I could see why somebody would pass it up, and that is actually fairly obvious choice, but it's The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker.
Ooh.
So this is the cartoon Zelda. So it's when it came out, it was very, very polarizing. Like, a lot of people hated it. Just they didn't. That's not not my Zelda. That's not what they wanted at the time. And honestly, when I played it originally, I played through it, I liked it, and I kind of moved on. And then over the years, as they have passed, I find myself continually thinking back to that game. I've since replayed it a few times, and every time it gets a little bit better to me. Mm-hmm. Like, I love the way the game looks. I love the music. I really, really like the characters. The sailing, especially, like, one of the first times you just, like, set out on the ocean to yourself, or by yourself, is just an amazing feeling with that song in there. Yeah. You'll definitely hear Wind Waker pop up from time to time. So if you have not played it and you are at all interested, I mean, even if you're not interested, I think this is a fantastic game. Like, just top 5 game all time easily, and probably my favorite Zelda game. Not the one I would think is the best. I actually separate those. But in terms of just personal enjoyment, probably my favorite.
Yeah, it's actually the first game I got on the GameCube, so I have fond memories of it, like you do, and it's definitely, you have to play it. I mean, you're doing yourself a disservice if you haven't played a game like Wind Waker. It's soothing, I still remember the music too. It's like ba 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 da 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 da. Okay. Anyway, that's sometimes I had that hum in my head back then. It's just
it's amazing. It just one of those games that it's just incredible to play. It feels like you're playing a cartoon, kind of, which I love, and it's kind of a unique game in that you can currently get it on the GameCube or the Wii U as the HD remaster. I'll say the Wii U version has a couple of like quality of life type enhancements to it, and like definitely some items that you get that make it go a little bit faster, a little smoother. But if you go back and play it on the GameCube, that's a fine version. It really is. There's a section at the end that gets a little bit dragged on, just a little bit, but if you like the sailing concept, it's awesome there too. Also, probably the best finale of any Zelda game, just in general.
Yes.
It's a very old game, and I'm still not going to spoil it because it's amazing. So, just a really good game.
Yeah, I agree with you definitely. Every time I play it again, I like it more than it was in my memory. I think what happens is it has the best ramping up. It starts like a Zelda game and it's good and things are not too bad, things are nice, but eventually the game unfolds into this amazing experience, and it's probably something the other Zeldas don't have, and that's why we enjoy it more every time we play it. Definitely don't miss
Exactly.
it. If you can only get the GameCube one, that's completely fine, like you said.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next question. This one comes in from Tommy, actually. So, who are you planning to main in the 3 or 5 man squad strike in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate? Before we answer that, it was announced at the Smash Direct about what this squad strike mode was, and has since been clarified on the Nintendo Power podcast. What it is you pick at the beginning of the round, you pick 3 characters or 5 characters, and during the course of that match, every life, every stock that you have is a different character. So you can go into that match with Mario, Fox, and Link. First life you'll play Mario, second life you'll play Fox, third life you'll play Link. There was a mod for Brawl called Project M that had this. It was an amazing mode, and then Smash Wii U actually had it a little bit in the Smash Tour mode, which was terrible, but every time they implement something like this mode is really, really fun. It keeps things really fresh. So, given 3 or 5 characters, who would you pick? Who's your perfect team?
Ooh. Can I go first?
Absolutely.
Okay. So if we're going to do 3, I'm going to say right now, I got to go with Mario, got to go with Ike, and got to go with Ness. You know.
Nice.
I got to have a Fire Emblem character. Got to have a original Super Smash Brothers N64 character. Or 2. In terms of Ness. But yeah, and then if you were to ask me with 4 or 5, I would have the same 3 plus 2 more. Toon Link and a Castlevania character. Oh, I don't know which one though.
Ooh.
I'm gonna say Simon. Just I feel like, and this is why I choose this. Like when you, because I already had the 4, but then I gotta have a new one. I gotta have someone that I've never. Gotta have the whip, man. Just it's different. It's a change up. I think it'll throw some people off. Well, I say that now, but when I play the game, hopefully the way I think about it. But yeah, I'm gonna say that's my team. That's my team. Simon, boom. That's my Castlevania character.
What about you, Sergio?
So I like my Smash very simple. I if we're talking only one character, I'm Pikachu, 99.999% of the time. So if I'm kind of forced to pick others, I can do it. For example, if I'm gonna pick the 3, it's gonna be regular Link first because he's my worst of the 3, and then Pichu, and then Pikachu. I'm just assuming Pichu is gonna be decent.
Yeah.
At least, which we should be,
Yeah.
hopefully everything is much more balanced now.
He's just Pikachu who hurts himself.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's a little more than that, and I'm hoping it doesn't affect you as much when you hurt yourself. So we'll see. If I can add 2 more to that, I would probably start out with Yoshi, then Toon Link, and then the first 3 that I picked: Link, Pichu, and Pikachu.
Nice. Toon
For
Link
sure.
showing up in both of your picks.
Yeah, but I mean, I definitely gonna wanna go with my strongest character last, just in case,
Right. Oh, actually, I just want to mention real quick. When I said Mario, I was gonna choose between Mario or Dr. Mario because Dr. Mario is my main in Melee. So that's hard. I don't know which one, but it's gonna be one of those. Mm-hmm.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard for me. Like, I actually have a real answer, but there's a lot of really, really hype 3-some characters. Like, you can go the full Triforce and go Link, Zelda, Ganon. You could go Fox, Falco, Wolf. You could go Bowser, Donkey Kong, and K. Rool.
oh yeah.
Ooh,
like if you really like the big characters, you could go all Fire Emblem. Whether you go 3 or 5 characters, there's
Jeez.
way too many Fire Emblem characters. But
yeah.
or I mean, you could even make third-party character teams with either 3 or 5.
Yeah.
with
Yep.
those Mega Man, Simon, Bayonetta, Cloud, Pac-Man teams.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Sure.
Castlevania.
for me, actually, if the game is similar enough to Smash Wii U, which it kind of looks like it is. In Wii U, I actually mained Mega Man, so he's gonna be kind of my anchor character. Near the end of it, I started playing a lot of Roy, Fire Emblem Roy, even though he's not really good per se, but he's a lot of fun. So I kind of want to throw him in there. And just to kind of round out my team of 3, I would throw regular Link. So I've played some version of Link in every Smash game so far. I actually mained him in 64 when he was really bad. But
interesting.
So I will always play Link. So I'm gonna call him. Also, I like him. This is weird. I like him not having the hook shot this time because I kind of like that regular grab, and the remote bombs are pretty cool to set traps and stuff. So yeah, I'll go with Link, Roy, and Mega Man. If I'm gonna go to 5, that's harder. let me throw Inkling in there because I definitely need to give them a try.
Yeah, there we go. That's a good one.
And let me also throw Daisy in there because she makes way too much noise and annoys people. So perfect. Perfect. There's my team.
Boom.
So that's that one. No, honestly, I'm extremely excited for that particular mode. I think that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I could definitely see it in a tournament valid format, and I mean it's just gonna be bonkers. So
I kind of hope so, to be honest.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah,
that it does a lot to keep the game from getting stale. Like, so you don't see the same characters every time. Like, look at something like Marvel vs. Capcom. Like, you will see like one character will be on pretty much every team or whatever. But the way people build teams around that character is usually pretty different.
Yeah,
I just kind of like that.
Yeah, and honestly, and just to build out what you said, maybe there's characters that maybe a lot of people won't use in the single player mode, but in a 3 or single character mode, but in a 3 or 5 player format, 3 or 5 character format, it might be a really good game changer, like a late gamer, like say maybe I don't know, Toon Link is like a really good finisher. If he is, then I mean it'd be really good, or Ike, because Ike is awesome. Just like no, I really like Ike though, because I used to use him a lot in Brawl, and man, he was a beast. He still is. So.
He is. Yes.
Yeah.
I'm still a fan of playing Ike. He's a lot of fun.
Yeah, man.
I'm terrified of Ike. He got destroyed. It was one time only, but it was so bad that I'm terrified of him.
All right, I know who to choose first.
There you go. So last question. This one actually comes from Darren. So Nintendo calls you. No, wait. Reggie Fils-Aimé himself calls you and says, "Kevin, we've procrastinated with the Switch Online. We need you to tell us what we need to do to implement to make this an absolute home run." How are you going to respond? What do they need to do with the Nintendo Switch Online at this point?
Well, first of all, gotta fix the app. I think that's the first thing they can do because I feel like with the app that we were using at first with Splatoon 2, that was the only game we used it for, and that was it. And I felt like it was a bit of a disappointment. And if they're able to fix the app better and be able to integrate with other games, and then use that as a point, or just like a midpoint between the Switch and the servers, I feel like with the Switch app, I think it would be a much better way to play. And like, just imagine having a really good being able to use the Switch app on your mobile phone to communicate with your players or your teammates and stuff, and then building on in the crux of things, I feel like maybe have like an update once every 1 or 2 months about how the Switch Online is doing. Like maybe do like a small 15-minute direct of the Switch Online, just some of the things that they're really excited about. And I think it'll be good to do some marketing too. Like even if it's overblown out of proportions, like look at Apple. Like they're like the masters of marketing, and like look how well they are able to showcase their products. I mean, it's worked for them. Obviously, it's not the same. We're comparing apples to oranges, in one way. But I feel like in terms of the marketing aspect, I think that Nintendo can learn from Apple in terms of being able to do that with the Switch Online, because honestly, they haven't been as they've been they've said some things, but not the most transparent. And so I feel like if they're able to have this sort of direct with the Switch Online and be able to tell like, oh, these are the games that you're gonna be playing, and like actually have footage of people using Switch Online as a demo to play like the old games, like Super Mario Kart, Super Mario Bros. 3, F-Zero on the SNES, and much more. So I think it would be good to just have those sort of demos, and to top it off, to make it even like more of an absolute home run. Just given the opportunity to have one or two free indies a month. Ooh, I know that's asking a lot.
Ooh.
Right, but it doesn't have to be like games that are like worth $30 or $40. Like maybe some of the $5, $10 games. You know what I mean? Like, yes, maybe at first it might seem like, oh well, that's asking a lot out of us from Nintendo. But like, just imagine the ROI and just the return you get. Like, I think it would make more people feel more confident about the online system for Switch, because a lot of people, even before the whole thing started, like, oh well, even with the Wii U, like, let's be honest, when you compare the Wii U to like the PS4 and the Xbox One, or even PS3 and the Xbox 360, the online system wasn't as strong as both the PSN and the Xbox Live. I mean, it wasn't as strong. They didn't have the ability to offer free games per month, but this is a chance for them to do that, and that's what I would think would make an absolute home run. And I'm not asking about AAA games, man. I mean that because that's $60 a game, and you're asking people to pay $20 a year. So
Right.
I'm saying indie games, man. Indie games. Those $5 gems. I mean, like
Yes.
like Kamiko, Kamiko, like that one game.
Right.
Like give it for free, and boom, like heck yeah, I'd be excited. Anyway, what do you guys think?
Just keep it simple and just offer like a subscription type service, and have first of all SNES, GBA, and GameCube and N64 games, and just have people play them whenever.
Right.
They could pick the top 20 of each, and that's it. I mean, and raise the price even. People would pay for it.
Right. You mentioned that before too. Like, you wish it were more expensive, because then, then I think it would be better for their service and to provide more for the players. So I mean, but anyway.
Yeah, I just think that alone would sell so many people into it, and if they want to, stay on their ground and say, yeah, this is not your typical virtual console, then if it's subscription based and you can play whatever you want when you want, yeah, that's different. And but it's what people would definitely want to play.
Right. What do you think, Daryl?
Yeah, I mean, so you mentioned the app and it being kind of a disappointment. To kind of compound on that, like, from my point of view, the app is a little bit of a disappointment because it's actually really good, but it's good in one game.
Right, exactly. It's like...
I actually like using it in Splatoon. It keeps track of like really good data in like the store that you can order gear off of and such, and you can always check what maps are on rotation and things. I think it works really well for what it is.
That's true, right? But just in terms of like, it's the only game. I mean, like, what about the other games? You're right. So that was like the disappointment.
Yeah. Even the voice chat, and the voice chat is always going to be a little clunky. Just if they continue down the phone app path, it's always going to kind of be too much work. But I will say we got I played with 7 other people in Splatoon once, and actually used the app for the voice chat and the automatic separation of teams and such like that in the app, where you're all talking before the match, and then it separates you, so you're only talking to your team, and then it brings everybody back together. It's actually really cool. Like,
yeah.
You can do that in other ways for sure, and it may not be the even the easiest way to do it, but for what it does, I'm I'm actually okay with it. It's not perfect. I'm not saying it is, but I actually kind of liked it.
Yeah, I guess I heard that you can't background the app like when you're using it on your mobile device. Is that true? Like you have to keep it in the foreground.
They've fixed a lot about it.
Oh, okay,
Is
that's
what
cool.
I'll say. Like initially, it had a lot of problems and bugs and things like that. Like that concern, I think, was already fixed.
Okay, that's good.
They've updated it a number of times to make it a little snappier and faster. And I typically use it without problems.
Okay, in that case, then yeah. I mean, I guess I can't really knock on the voice chat, but I think in terms of versatility, that's one thing that they could work on.
Oh, for sure. And I mean, otherwise with the system, I'm a pretty simple guy. Like if they threw in Super Nintendo games with online co-op, you definitely have my eyebrows raised because Super Nintendo games are significantly better in multiplayer than NES games.
Yes.
Just there are a few standout on the NES that actually are really fun to play 2-player. A lot of them are third party. The one that is coming that really springs to mind is Dr. Mario, which is very solid game. Very solid. But as soon as you open that up to the Super Nintendo library, then we're talking. Then you've got online Super Mario Kart, like you said. And just even if they open it up to some of the older Bomberman games, there's a lot there. Anything past that is gonna be just a benefit to me. Like if they actually go the route of adding 64 games, GameCube games, things like that, I would love it. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think it'd be fantastic. I don't know whether I expect it, but
right, yeah.
Definitely sign me up. And the only other thing that's really on my wish list is just this party system. Like I really, really would like a party system that is not tied to the particular games, so you can get connected with your friends and say, hey, what do you want to play? Oh, okay, let's go play Mario Kart. And then you just load the game, it loads you into the same party automatically, and that just transfers across games. Again,
right.
I don't know how much I even expect that at this point, but it would be so nice.
Yeah.
And it would really solve this issue that right now you can play somebody online and you can add them as a friend, and then they just sit in your friends list and you really can't do anything with them. Like you can't talk to them, you can't coordinate timing, you can't message them or anything. And I understand why they do that, but it almost feels like why would I do that? If I play against somebody good in Splatoon and they add me after the fact, why am I going to add them as a friend? They're just going to sit there. I can't do anything with that, Notable exceptions being things like Fortnite and Rocket League, and actually the third-party games that have various party systems. So
right.
if they were to implement something like that, I would be completely happy out of the box. All right, that is going to do it for episode 11 of the Nintendo Jump Podcast. We did it, guys. Definitely thanks for listening. If you like the podcast, please let us know. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Nintendo Jump. We also have a Facebook group that we'd love for you to join. If you have any comments or questions about the show or future topic ideas, listener questions, we just went through 3 of them. If you guys have any more to throw in there, please write us at NintendoJumpPodcast@gmail.com. We also ask that you please give us a review at your podcast app of choice. It really, really helps the visibility of the podcast. It helps people find us. So if you do like what we're doing, please throw us a 5-star review and a like. We really, really appreciate that. We will appreciate you forever. Finally, please keep sending in your favorite video game music. So have a update on that. The clock is actually ticking down until the big music episode where we're going to actually dive into a lot of your suggestions and talk about video game music as a whole. It keeps coming up, but that's coming up, and it is actually coming up at some point in the next 2 episodes. So we're kind of in limbo right now with the Nintendo Direct, and we're trying to figure out exactly when that's going to hit, because when it does, we do want to talk about it. But the other episode within the next 2 is going to be the big music episode. So definitely, if you have suggestions for songs, tracks that you like, please send them in to our email at NintendoJumpPodcast@gmail.com, or even get with us on Twitter or the Facebook group, whatever you have. And we'll do our best to include it. So we've definitely gotten some really good suggestions so far. So with that, we're going to jump on out of here. So once again, this is Daryl, and for Kevin and Sergio, thanks for listening.
Take care. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye, everybody. That's all we had, you guys.
That's all I got. That's all I got.
Oh, shoot.